Whispers in the Abandoned Asylum. Everyone in town had heard the rumors about the old asylum on the hill. It had been abandoned for decades, left to rot with its dark history buried within its crumbling walls. It was a place where people with no other options sent their troubled loved ones, hoping for some kind of miracle cure. But instead of miracles, there were whispers of abuse, mysterious deaths, and patients who vanished without a trace. It was the kind of place that drew curious souls like moths to a flame. This is where our story begins, with a group of friends who couldn't resist the pull of the unknown. They were an ordinary bunch. Alex, a local history buff. Casey, always up for an adventure. Jordan, the skeptic. And Mike, the one who always brought a camera to document their escapades. One chilly October night, they decided to explore the asylum. They met at Alex's house to go over their plan. Alex had done his homework, poring over old blueprints he found in the town library. He mapped out their route to make sure they wouldn't get lost in the maze of corridors and rooms. They arrived at the asylum just after midnight, the perfect time for ghost hunting, or so they thought. The building loomed over them, its windows like empty eye sockets staring into the night. The air was thick with the smell of mold and decay. They found an entrance that had been forced open, probably by other explorers before them. Inside, the asylum was even more eerie. Their flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing peeling paint, broken furniture, and old medical equipment scattered about. The place was silent, except for the occasional creak of the old building settling. They started their exploration on the first floor, moving cautiously from room to room. Each one seemed more disturbing than the last. They found old patient records, disturbing drawings, and even rusted restraints still attached to beds. It was clear that this place had been abandoned in a hurry, leaving behind a ghostly echo of its past. As they moved to the second floor, the air grew colder, and the feeling of being watched became almost unbearable. They found themselves whispering, as if speaking too loudly would awaken something. That's when they heard it, a soft, almost inaudible whisper. At first, they thought it was the wind, but it grew louder, more distinct. "Help me," it said. Jordan, ever the skeptic, brushed it off as their imaginations playing tricks on them. But the others weren't so sure. They followed the sound down a long hallway to a door at the end. It was marked with a faded sign that read, "Isolation Ward." Inside, the room was small and bare, except for a single metal bed frame bolted to the floor. The whispers grew louder, more urgent. They circled the room, trying to find the source. That's when Mike noticed the floor. There were scratch marks, like someone had been desperately trying to escape. Casey suggested they leave, but Alex was determined to figure out what had happened. He knelt down, examining the scratches more closely. That's when they heard a loud bang from behind them. They spun around, shining their flashlights wildly. The door had slammed shut. Panic set in. They tried the door, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers turned into cries, desperate and pleading. "Help me! Please help me!" They pounded on the door, shouting for help, but it was as if the building itself was swallowing their cries. Just as suddenly as it had started, the noise stopped. The door creaked open on its own. They stumbled out into the hallway, shaken but relieved to be free. They decided to leave, but as they made their way back to the first floor, they heard footsteps behind them. Turning around, they saw nothing but empty hallways. Yet, the footsteps continued, always a few paces behind. When they finally reached the exit, they burst outside, gulping in the fresh air. They vowed never to return. But the asylum wasn't done with them. Over the next few days, each of them started experiencing strange occurrences. Alex woke up to find scratch marks on his bedroom walls. Casey heard whispers in her apartment at night. Jordan, the skeptic, found himself plagued by nightmares of the asylum. And Mike's camera, which had been off, had somehow recorded hours of footage of their exploration, with voices and faces they didn't recognize appearing on the tape. Desperate for answers, they did more research and discovered that the asylum had a dark secret. Patients weren't just mistreated, they were experimented on. Many died, their spirits trapped within the walls. The isolation ward, where they had heard the whispers, was where the most severe cases were sent and forgotten. Realizing they had disturbed something that night, they tried to find a way to put the spirits to rest. They consulted local historians, psychics, and anyone who might help. Eventually, they returned to the asylum with a priest who performed a cleansing ritual. The whispers stopped, and the strange occurrences faded. But the experience left a mark on them. They couldn't forget the fear, the feeling of being watched, and the voices of those who had suffered long before they arrived. The old asylum still stands, a decaying monument to its dark past. And while the whispers may have stopped for now, there are those who believe that some spirits can never truly rest. The friends moved on with their lives, but every now and then they can't help but glance up at the hill, wondering if the asylum is waiting for the next group of curious souls to venture inside. So, if you ever hear about an old, abandoned building with a dark history and think it might be fun to explore, remember this story. Some places are abandoned for a reason, and some doors, once opened, can never be closed. If you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.